Okay, recording.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning. We are thrilled to have John Callback here in the Market Center, and he is going to teach us how we can win the 6% commission on every listing presentation you go on. So it's all about proving your value, showing your worth, and getting that money that you deserve. John, I'll let you take it away. I did not grab the clicker. I can grab it for you if you like, but in the meantime, just feel free to use the
That's
keyboard there.
Yeah.
And I will also put on Zoom.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to the class today. I really appreciate it. It's something where I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here, first of all, because I know a lot of you might be coming here looking for a magic bullet, looking for something like, all right, this is it, like, I'm just gonna deploy this and it's gonna solve all my problems. Only using your brain and working well is gonna make you successful. This is just gonna be another tool in the tool belt. It's not to tell you guys that you've been doing it wrong. It's to give you guys more resources to work with so that when you get in front of that client, you have the highest chance for success. Ultimately, that's what this is all about. So without further ado, let's drill into it. All right, so it says, let's see if this is working. Use this clicker. There we go. All right. Winning the 6% by John Callback. That's me. Very nice to meet you guys. We're going to go over the sales process first. So this is going to be divided up into two sections. Originally, I did it in 2 separate days. I decided to put it into 1 day because A, sometimes people can't make it for the second day or the first day. And B, you tend to forget information. It's kind of good to get all that information at one time, blitzkrieg style, so that we can practice it. I'm going to demonstrate it in front of you as well, so we can see how this is actually executed in front of people and make it real for you. So first of all, as a person who's divulging information to you as your speaker, it's incumbent upon me to qualify myself to actually be the sales trainer for you. Talking and wearing a bold shirt doesn't necessarily make me qualified. A little bit about myself. I worked for the Beverage Works distributors of Red Bull for 13 years. I worked as a district sales manager for 7 out of those 13 years. I was always successful in what I did. I really loved the business. Distributors of Red Bull is known as a CPG company. CPG is consumer packaged goods. For those of you who don't understand the consumer packaged goods industry, it is like guerrilla warfare. We're always fighting for space. We're always fighting for market share, and it's all about understanding your market, understanding what's driving consumer dollars, and then ultimately being able to communicate that to your consumer so that they can communicate that to the customers that come into their store and understand how I'm adding value incrementally on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. That is a very simplified breakdown of what I did, but ultimately I was also the head branch sales trainer as well. I created the brand training apparatus before I came along. All that we knew about Red Bull is what it said on the can. So as far as all the proprietary ingredients were concerned, people knew next to nothing, which is why you would have all this folklore come out about, oh, does it contain bull semen? Yeah, it does not, definitely not. And understanding what's in it was able to empower the salespeople to know what product they were representing, why it was a premium product, and then be able to stand behind it with confidence and sell it to the consumers. In my territory, I was one of the top district managers in key performance index execution in the United States of America. One of the top people, meaning as far as the amount of shelves were concerned, as far as the amount of coolers, displays, the overall visibility of my product in my market, I was doing one of the best jobs in the United States of America. And it wasn't something that was done by accident. It was something that was done by an intentional improving of my team and my own sales skills, the way that we engaged our customers, the way that we practiced, and ultimately the way that we deployed these strategies in the field so that we could drive success consistently throughout the time that they were going to their accounts. So we would only go once a week. That's 4 times a month. So you have to be able to make an impact. As realtors, you get one shot in front of these people sometimes. One shot. Yeah, you might work 3-4 months to get that one shot sometimes, but if you get in front of them and then you don't know what to say and you're unsure of yourself, you can have all the knowledge in the world. If you don't know how to speak, you're not gonna be able to close the deal. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, for those of you who haven't read it, I highly recommend that you read it. If you're not a reader, become a reader. It's the only way you're really gonna be successful in this life. He says that the biggest skill that you can learn is how to sell, how to communicate, how to write well, how to speak well, and then how to market. If you know how to do these two things, you can do anything. I used to be extremely shy. Me being able to speak in front of a lot of people, me being able to go over the sales process was not something that I was born with. It's not something that, oh, that person just has it, they're just charismatic. No, it's a skill that you can learn and that you can get extremely good at. I want you guys to have the confidence to know that if you apply yourself to the sales model, if you apply yourselves to refining the way that you speak to people, then you will gain in confidence, you will become more bold, and you will become more effective as a business leader and as an entrepreneur. Does anybody have any questions?
Silly question. Are you related to Vanessa Colbeck?
I am related to Vanessa Colbeck. I am her husband. as a matter
Oh,
of fact.
wow.
Yes.
You know Vanessa from our street practice school? Vanessa Colbeck.
Yeah, she's the assistant team leader
Oh,
over
yeah,
at the Fort Lee
yeah.
office.
She's very nice, yeah.
She's awesome. So yeah, any other questions? All right, so let's start with the elevator pitch. There's a lot that we can go over in the sales process here. What I really want to focus on is that key 60 to 90 seconds after you've delivered your listing presentation, and now you're sitting in front of the client and you want to convince them that they need to sign a listing agreement. In the front, agree or disagree? You have 60 to 90 seconds after you deliver your listing presentation to really hone in and ask that person for their signature.
They already made up their mind during the conversation.
So would you say that what you're talking about after you've had that conversation, would you say that that's impactful though? The way that you structure it, the way that you talk to them, that if you organize your thoughts and your words in a certain way, that there's going to be a higher percentage of success than if you don't. Agreed. So what I really want to do is I want to focus on that 60 to 90. I want you guys to understand that through the process, we can move through.
Amanda will let them know. Don't worry. She's in the other.
Okay, so so there will be there's going to be a structure for you guys to operate by. Whereas when you get into this conversation, it doesn't matter what your speaking style is. It doesn't matter whether you're talking to somebody who's nice or somebody like me who's very confrontational at times and who's going to ask hard questions and who's going to bark in your face, get like this. You need to be able to stand your ground. And the way that you're going to be able to do that effectively is if you know exactly what you want to say, or at least understand the skeleton of what you want to say, which is what we're going to introduce today during this. So we want to focus on the elevator pitch. It's a slang term to describe, to describe basically somebody who's trying to sell a product or service. That's all that it is. The name comes from the notion it should be delivered in a very short period of time, and it's a good rule of thumb, approximately 30 to 60 seconds long. I say 90 seconds because these people have let you in your house, you've walked through, you've had a conversation with them, so we have time to deliver this, but we don't want to drag it out. Okay, you drag it out, it's gonna be tomorrow, there's gonna be times when people aren't gonna want to sign, and we need to be aware that if you push too hard, you're gonna have commission breath, and people are gonna get really turned off by it. So you need to read the situation. With that being said, like we said, you organize your thoughts and you're going to be way more effective when you're delivering your pitch to get them to sign a listing. Does anybody have any questions regarding elevator pitches? I don't think so. All right. So preparing for success. What are some of the things that we do to prepare for success? And I say this because I could teach you all the speaking techniques, all the talking points in the world to being an effective salesperson, And if you don't do an ounce of preparation before you walk through the door, you're gonna fall on your face, you're gonna look like an idiot. So what are some of the things that we wanna put together? Okay, listing presentation, what are some of the elements of the listing presentation that you guys wanna put together? Okay, so comps,
And the introduction about yourself.
introduction, okay,
If
so.
you're a new agent, make sure you talk about your office.
Your office. If you are an agent who is new, but you worked in a corporate, find a way to talk about that. For those of you on Zoom too, I am also going to, ask you guys to participate as well. If you have anything, please, the more you participate, the more you're gonna get out of this. Anything else that you guys can add? Okay, so all the associated documents, it's actually a good point. If you don't have the listing agreement with you, how are they gonna sign?
And the transactions, like way to handle transactions.
So maybe some script, something like that, that you guys can look at before you walk in. That is awesome, because that's what I did for all of my sales team, is all of them had a script book. Every single one of them reviewed it before they walked into their store and engaged their accounts. And we would have specific initiatives. And I would tailor scripts for those specific initiatives on a week-by-week basis.
I researched the person who went in,
Absolutely.
so I will try to look in
Humongous.
Google, try to look where they work, what they do.
Google,
try to look
Facebook,
Facebook, all those things, Instagram.
thank you.
So it's gonna give me, and before I walk into the door, I'm trying to see their cars, if they have things inside the car. Like, I don't know, like if they're Trump fans or they're not Trump fans, so kind of like understand a little, like know when speaking.
I mean, that's brilliant.
It's gonna
Thank
be
you so
quite a
much.
stalker.
No, it doesn't take much, probably 10 minutes.
So one of the things that I excluded in this presentation, because introducing yourself and tying to the brand isn't something that's really relevant for realtors for the most part, or it's difficult to quantify how to do that. So what you said right now was dead on the money, right? What you want to do is you really want to figure out something where you can bond with these people, right? Before you walk in, some kind of talking point, like you said, is he a Trump fan? He's not a Trump fan. So at least you know in general, you should stay away from politics and religion. Just gonna say that out loud, but it is good to know you're dealing with, because if they jump in there, you can at least steel yourself. So if it's something that you're really opposed to, like, so you're mentally preparing yourself. But it could be, hey, they have old cars. Maybe you know about old cars. Maybe they do something maybe they have cooking. I love Chef Ramsay. I love cooking. So people love food. So if you walk into people's kitchens, if you talk about food, like you can strike up a conversation about it, because everybody has to eat, right? So if you can't find any common bond there, at least you have food. Everybody has to eat food. But yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So I made a short list of all this. This is kind of where we want to be at as far as what I want you guys to learn today. So preparing for success, understanding the sales process. I talked about that enough. Staying focused in a conversation, I touched on that, and expanding your comfort zone. This is the big one. 98% of people who strike out as entrepreneurs are going to fail. And they're going to fail because of the fear of rejection. No other reason. Because they're afraid of people saying no. It's the number one thing as a district sales manager at Red Bull that I had to combat when I was dealing with training my people and making them bold. And the only way I was actually able to do it was I had to go with them and I had to do it for them and show them exactly how it's done in real life. So when they saw it, they saw me drive success with it. And they're like, oh, wow, it actually works. And it's also about building rapport. There's a lot of other things involved there, but you're going to be really successful if you learn to not care if people say no. You learn to expect it. And that's why Gary says, every no it's one no closer to the yes. That's not a new principle. He's following time-tested principles. So the fear of rejection is, you're gonna hear me say it over and over again. That is the number one thing that you're gonna be fighting against in your real estate endeavor, which is to say that you're really gonna be fighting against yourself more than anything else. All right, so I use this illustration all the time because I like illustrations. I'm an ADHD guy. I don't know if you guys know anything about attention deficit hyper disorder, but it just means I'm super creative and I can't stay focused on anything and I have difficulties with impulse control at times. So with all that being said, once you can understand how your brain works, you can kind of really begin to expand on that. I'm an introspective person, meaning I like to look inwardly at myself, at my thoughts, at my actions, and understand what the root cause of that is so that I can become a better person. I would encourage you guys to be introspective in your thinking. It's gonna really set you free in a lot of ways, because you're gonna realize that you're enslaved to a lot of things that you might not even understand as far as, and I know enslaved is a strong word, but from the standpoint of challenging your ideas, it's the way that we grow. And it's the way that we are going to ultimately be able to get to the next step in our journey. If you're afraid and you're shy and you're not willing to make yourself unshy or uncomfortable, you will never grow. You will never read enough books that's going to make you confident enough to walk in front of somebody and be like, all right, I got this. That's a skill all in and of its own that you have to practice and you have to work. So this is the comfort zone. This is the profit zone. We call it the red zone. I call it the profit zone, because this is where you make all your money. That's where all the skills exist that you make money with. But if you stay in that green area, you're never going to be able to experience any of that. And most of us are there, me included. It's hard to pick up the phones and make phone calls. Even my own friends and family. It's so hard to do it sometimes. I'm so afraid they're going to be like, oh, you're such a jerk. Call me about business. This and that. Instead of being like, do I want to do business with some terrible realtor who's going to cost me $30,000, $40,000, $50,000? Right? So I'm being introspective. I'm challenging my own thoughts on it. I want you to challenge your thoughts, and I want this whole thing to be your comfort zone. I don't want anything to be uncomfortable for you. I want you to be able to walk into any place at any time and be like, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I'm here to help you. You need help. Not afraid, and not like a jerk either, but literally like, hey, I'm really good at what I do. And I really want to help as many people as I can. This can be found in a lot of ways. I love this video, and I think that it really illustrates the importance of needing to engage in habits that are going to expand your comfort zone and allow you to do things that you and other people never thought were possible. Let's take a look at this. This guy, his name is Robbie Madison. He's a freaking maniac. That's over 10 stories.
Well, Joe, I have to tell you that was an
Las
absolutely
Vegas.
perfect landing for Robbie Madison. He nailed that one. The sweet spot we talked about. He made it look so easy.
What more is there to say? Now comes what has been said to be the hardest part. As if 10 stories skyrocketing into the air isn't enough.
So he's gonna go down now? Wow.
Okay, and that's his wife.
Who already did that something difficult already?
I'm practicing this.
Robbie's so confident as he goes to the edge of that cover drop. He's checking the drivers in the right view. You can see him there, pushing up and down in the shipper pedal.
Freaking
Harder
insane.
than anybody has ever done before and successfully returns.
This is one of the really cool things about Red Bull is they get all this really crazy stuff all the time. All right, so, hold on a second. Ignore that for a second. I want to talk about what you just saw really quickly. All right, how many of you think that he showed up at Las Vegas with a dirt bike and hit a ramp and went 100 feet up in the air and then back down on the first try? There's no freaking way, he would have died. Like, it's impossible. What we did, we don't, and it was a shame because I actually don't have access to this footage because it's all Red Bull stuff that we had. But it actually shows he had a whole park and he had a lift and he would go up 10 feet every single week and sometimes 2 weeks until he got completely comfortable with that height. And then he'd go up another 10 feet and another 10 feet and another 10 feet. And after 6 months, he was able to make that 100-foot jump in his sleep. Didn't happen on accident. It wasn't something where he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna give this a shot, give me a week. This is like an extremely dangerous thing. He could have died on that stunt. There's nothing, there's no safety nets. If he went off too hard on that, he would have died, 100%. So it required practice. Obviously, the stakes aren't as high for you. The stakes are you guys lose the listing and it goes to somebody else. You have to try again. Point is you try, repetition is going to create success. With that in mind, we're going to continue to hammer these principles really quickly before we jump into the meat and potatoes. The Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, right? 80-20 rule, for those of you who may not know, was not created by Gary Keller. It has been around for a very, very long time. Actually predates Jesus. It was observed in the late 1800s by Italian philosopher Vilfredo Pareto and has roots in Greece and Rome. During that time in Greece and Rome, they were beginning to discover mathematics, geometry, the golden ratio, and really beginning to explode as far as their understanding of the natural world. And so they began these outpourings. So the 80-20 principle itself, they began to touch on it, but it wasn't solidly put into a framework until the late 1800s by Vilfredo. What it finds is that 80% of activity, all right, is done by 20% of the people. So why is this important? Guys can take a crack at it. It's okay if you're wrong.
I mean, for real estate, you just have to flip that around. You have to just make sure that the 20% of what you do is going to give you 80% of your results.
That's definitely skimming the surface of what I'm trying to get to. 100%. Thank you. What I'm trying to communicate to you guys is that this is a view on the psychology of people in general. That if we take 10 people, right, we know 2 of them are going to be successful, the other 8 are not. And that's going to be based on their own psychology, their own self-discipline. Self-discipline is one of the most difficult things for us to exercise as individuals. It's one of those things that is going to make you successful. You have a bedrock of self-discipline, good habits. You are going to be extremely successful. And I'm so mad I didn't bring my book with me. There's a quote that I love. It basically goes like this. If we thought more about the things that were more important and weren't as afraid that we have to think as much of it as we do, then we would accomplish a lot more. What's he saying? That when we think about things and we're intentional, and we have discipline, and we actually think things through, that we could be way more successful than we can possibly realize. And that actually doesn't require a lot of thinking. It actually requires very little thinking. You just want to make sure that it's being directed in a successful system. Does that make sense?
Can you please repeat the quote?
I'm going to get the direct quote and I'm going to send it to you because I'm butchering it right now. All right. It's in Joe Mank. No, I'm sorry. It's in another book that I've been reading about organization. It's excellent. Like I said, read, guys. Read. Build the discipline. Make sure you're reading at least an hour a day. 80% of people or 20% of people do 80%. That's a psychological thing. It's a psychological thing. So at the end of the day, if we're applying that to the real estate pool, then really you're only competing with 20% of real estate agents. You're not actually competing with 80%. So if you got 20 agents that are prospecting, you know, a FSBO, the common line of thinking is like, oh man, I gotta get to 20 agents. Now, how do you get to 20 agents? You gotta get to 4 agents. That's it. You can do better, outperform those other 4, because the other 15, they're not even gonna call the second or third time. You know, so you're really in competition with the other 4. Does that make sense to you guys? I say the 80-20 principle, and I wanna like really push understanding, because I want you guys to kind of internalize these concepts, because when we internalize this stuff is when we're gonna be most successful, because then our actions are gonna be shaped by these things.
It's actually, I've been hearing that it's actually higher. The gap is higher.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually
It's
90-10.
more 90-10.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is. I think that 80-20 is actually, especially in our
10%.
culture,
And especially in real estate, 10% of the agents sell 90% of it.
I would agree with you. I say I wouldn't be surprised if it was even higher than that. Good habits and systems will push you to the top 20%. This is not gonna be the all-encompassing thing, but this is gonna be one more thing that's going to help to separate you from the other agents and push you towards that 20%. You guys have any questions? I'm gonna ask that a lot because I wanna make sure that I'm capturing any questions and anything, ask anything. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Can I ask something? So
Absolutely.
you have this mindset every single day? Which
Every
is a
single
mindset,
day.
don't get me wrong. But
Every single day. I start my day in the Bible. That's where I start my day because that is the center of who I am. That is the bedrock that I build my life on. And then everything else from there, I try and do with excellence based on, you know, who I am there. So from the standpoint of internalizing things, yes, absolutely. I try and internalize these things, but it's all about building habits. And we want to be realistic. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you overburden yourself. You're like, I'm going to read 10 books a month. You know, make sure that you're doing your SMART goals. All right. Does anybody know what a SMART goal is? Specific, measurable, actionable, reasonable, and time oriented. All right. It's got to be time based. You need these 5 factors in order to have something that you can measure from a goal standpoint and have it make sense. Because, and guys, just write down SMART. You can Google it later. SMART goals is just another essential way for you to order your thinking so that you're being more effective in the way that you're creating goals for yourself and the action steps in order to create those goals. Because most people don't end up doing what they want to do, not because they're not doing, but because they're not writing down what they're supposed to be doing and then writing down a subsequent action that needs to be taken. They're not clearing their mind of those things. So just make sure that you're putting down SMART goals and you have systems that's going to allow you to be mentally free. So we talked about the preparing for success, CMA, market data, company metrics, broker metrics, your business metrics, listing presentation, visual aids, and you added on something that I'm going to add to my presentation. I don't have on here right now, which is a little bit of reconnaissance when you get to the property. I'm done. I'm putting recon in there. I'm not joking. All right. So enough about me pontificating about concepts. Let's get down to the meat and potatoes. This is ultimately the sales process. We have the hook. What's a hook? Quickly.
something that grabs you.
Perfect. What is your bold claim? Has to be specific and provable. All right, I can't just say, hey, I'm gonna help you make an extra $100,000 in your house. If I can't prove that I can do that, then I'm gonna look like an idiot. Right, so if you're gonna make a claim, better be able to back it up. Insight. Pretty specific. Anybody want to take a crack at it? Jose? What do you think is an insight?
Like on a way to maybe increase some rapport.
Sure, definitely a way to increase rapport. So insight, we want to provide data so that we can have something that supports our claim. So one of the things that we can say, there's a couple of things we can say, and we'll go over this a little bit in depth, but For example, hey, did you know that a house that sits on the market for 30 days loses 10% of its list value? Yeah. People are like, wow, I did not know that. It's like, yeah, if your market sits on here 30 days, you're dead in the water. You're in big trouble. And then you can go about how I sell houses, how I get under contract in a week, how I drive systems in order to do that, which is what leads us. So what tangible data supports your claim? For her, she's been in the business 30 years, so she has a mountain of data from her own business metrics. And for those of you who've been in the business for a long time, that you can draw upon, you can utilize. And I encourage you, look at that data, tease out all the different insights that show the value that you add. Because not everybody's gonna care about the 8-day or the most money. I've had people walk away from $50,000 because they want to close in a month instead of 2 months. So what's important in our mind isn't always what's important in the client's mind. So we want to make sure that we're preparing insights, obviously, that are flexible and versatile so that we can use them in many different situations, especially if you have your listing presentation, everything goes great. How many times has this happened? And then all of a sudden they spring something on you when you're about to get the listing signed that they never even mentioned. Never even talked about it. All of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm splitting the money with my sister, kind of arguing about it, but you got to get her approval too. It's like, all right, great. So your sister needs to approve this, or for whatever. I mean, make up your scenario. You want to make sure that the data that you have is flexible so that you can pivot if you need to. That's what this is about too, is being able to pivot and not get phased. All right, because real life is not like, it's not a linear journey. All right, it goes all over the place and people can be extremely unpredictable sometimes. All right, idea. This is when we're actually going to talk about what we're going to do to deliver value for them and ultimately get them to the next chapter. All right, so what is your proposed plan? Obviously, I'm hoping that during your listing presentation, you had touched on this. So this shouldn't be a full recapitulation of what you talked about. All right, it should just be a very brief, all right, we talked about this, this is what we're going to do. This is the benefit. All right, the benefit is tailored to all the information that you already know about them, right? All right, so the benefit is I'm going to be able to get you out of here in 30 days. Or I'm going to be able to get you an extra $50,000 for your house. Or I'm going to be able to find that buyer that you really want to be in here, because I know it's important for you to have a family that's going to love this house like you did, right? Because there are some people that they don't care about the price. They want somebody who's going to love the house. How is your idea going to strategically accomplish the objective? And your benefit is directly linked to your insight, right? Which is why we present the insight in the first place, so that we're anchoring them in data, where we're anchoring ourselves as subject matter experts, as people who understand what we're talking about, who are transparent, trustworthy, and we're believable and likable. So we want to be believable, we want to be likable, we want to be trustworthy. And the way that you're going to be able to do this is by making a case for yourself, using the evidence, talking about your idea, having it go in line with just logical precepts. And what's the benefit of that? Hello, somebody have a question?
Yeah, it's Shamar.
Shamar? All right, pre-close. All right, this one's simple. Ask for the listing, have the guts to ask for the signature. Statistic that I love to throw out there when I was a district manager with my people, 75% of salespeople do not ask for the sale. You go, you make the phone calls, you do all the database stuff, you go through all this pain and suffering. You prepare, you do the presentation, you do all this stuff. All right, well, hey, thanks a lot, have a nice day. What a waste of time. You just wasted hours of your life showing up, and this person might have been ready to sign, right? 75% of people do not ask for the sale. So you need to be aware of the fact that when you're going to ask, it's all about a paradigm shift. You don't put yourself in business like, oh, please sign the listing agreement. No, sign the listing agreement, because I'm gonna be the person that drives you over the finish line. I'm not gonna screw you over peanuts, right? Like some agents do. You know, I'm not gonna be lazy. I'm gonna work hard for your business. I'm gonna earn your trust. Sign the agreement. Let's get started. You're gonna see that this is gonna be an awesome partnership, and you're gonna refer all your friends and family too. Be confident in your delivery. You know, don't be cocky. I have a tendency to err on the cocky side. Because I'm overconfident.
But even though that's what the seller wants, even though.
They want confident
want
people.
confidence.
Hey, here's the thing. If you can't negotiate for yourself, how are you gonna be able to negotiate for
They
them?
need somebody who gives that.
Right, they need somebody who's gonna give them that assurance that they're confident, that they know what they're doing, that they're able to get the things that they want and drive the results that they want. And if you don't even have the wherewithal and the guts to ask for the signature, then really, business being in the real estate business. You know, because our business is negotiation. That's what we do. We have to open our mouths. We have to talk to people. You know, I know agents who've never read an attorney review writer in their time. Like, how are you even an agent? Like, that's just crazy to me. I mean, like, there's all these responsibilities and baselines that make us the subject matter experts. With all that being said, I don't want to get too far afield here. Ask for the signature, guys. You've put so much effort into getting to this point. One sentence. Sign on the signature.
So what do you think 75% of your people didn't ask for the?
75% of salespeople globally. This is a Forbes statistic.
One of the things, I read something about that, and they were saying that because I love sales, so I read a lot about sales. They were saying that it's about your mind start creating mind blocks, and you're assuming that person doesn't want to work with you.
Right, exactly.
It's only assumptions. You start assuming that, oh, she probably didn't hear you something, and you start saying that, no. Your mind starts telling you stories like, no, don't. Why are you gonna ask? They're not ready. And you will be surprised. Like, I've been surprised with some of them. Like, there was a story, I was showing a house, and after that, it's never gonna happen to me. I always do. I didn't know. I thought that they didn't love the house. I thought it was like the worst house, and I didn't ask. I left, and then I was talking about the other two houses that we saw, but know about that one. And they just say, oh, no, we love this house. I say, like, what? My mind was like, what's going on? So after that, I always ask after every single showing. And that's probably, if you want to get something out of, like, sorry to get into your.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
But this question has helped so many agents that I have coached to. And it's from a scale from 1 to 10, how you like this house.
Yeah.
Put a number to their emotions. And in every single showing that I do, I have to ask that question. Because for me, it's that eliminate the assumption. And if people say 8, 9, or 10, I already know I already have an offer there. And my follow-up question is, how much do you want to offer for this house? Just like that, very simple system. You finish the house, for a scale from 1 to 10, how you like it. And if they say 7, 6, or below, you ask, okay, what would make this house be at 10? How can we make this house a 10? And then I will know exactly what is important for them for the other houses. So that's it.
Incredible. Love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much
No
for
worries.
adding that. I really appreciate
I'm
it.
passionate about sales, so.
No, I love it. And here's the thing, guys, just bringing it back, 75%, right? And so by being in this class, you guys have already said that we're not happy being in that 75%. We want to be in the 25% of people that ask for the listing. We want to be in the 20% of people that are driving 80% of the business. So hats off to you. Let's get on with this thing. All right. Next, we have just a few examples here. I'm going to go through quickly. You guys are going to get this slide deck, everybody who's here and who's on Zoom today. So you'll be able to look back at it for a reference point. But just really basic. I didn't put anything crazy here. I didn't put this for you to be like, this is the example, this is what you have to say, it's just an example. All right, I want you guys, the idea of the sales process is for you, when you're speaking to people, to be able to be like, okay, I'm in the benefit stage. That's where I'm at right now. I've already delivered the idea, I need to talk about the benefits now. Because, you know, they just went on this tangent about frozen pizza bagels that they used to eat, right? And so you can reel it back. We're back at the benefit stage. And instead of it becoming you memorizing a script, and now this is not me saying that you shouldn't read scripts. You should absolutely read scripts. You should commit them to memory and internalize them. But you don't need to regurgitate them. You say it in your own voice. What I want you guys to understand is that real estate agents, people, Gary Keller says something really pointy. He says, people are loyal to you, they're loyal to your standards. And it's absolutely true, right? That people want a certain standard of service. And if you don't deliver that, even though they might like you, they're not going to do business with you, right? So we want to make sure that we're maintaining those standards of business. Makes sense? And so with all that being said, I want you to be able to stay in the process. I want you to be more bold and be confident, but not robots. Say it in your own voice. Go over the scripts. Make sure that you understand the language that you want to use. Adopt the language that you like, and then build in confidence, practice, so that when you get in front of those people, it just flows out of you. Makes sense? It's not going to happen the first try, guys. It's not going to happen the 10th try. But I promise you that if you stick to the program, if you continue to practice it, you will improve and it will become unconscious for you. So how would you like to make an additional $20,000 on your home? People are going to say, well, of course I want to make an additional, $20, $50, $100,000 on your home. But how are you going to do that? Look, according to our market data, KW averages 104% of the list price to sales price ratio. What does that mean for them? That means that if they're at a $500,000 price point, we can get 4% over, that's $20,000. All right. It's also going to be incumbent on you to make sure that you're driving your own value when you're talking about strategy, so on and so forth. I don't want to get into all that right now, but I just want to continue to reiterate that this isn't just a script for you guys to read the summary. I'm just trying to give you examples really quickly so that you can understand what I'm talking about. By signing with me, my team will bring the best practices to you and net you the most money. We make the process simple, keep you in control with proven best practices, and we protect your investment. That's why I know that signing with me and my team today is going to get great results for you and your family. Stop. All right. A lot of people tend to keep talking. We want to stop once we've asked for the signature, let people think about it. I give them time to do it over, and then let them deliver an answer to you. All right. Don't keep talking, chatting. All right, stop. Give them time. They are going to know that you're waiting for their answer. They say yes, awesome. You've done it. Listing signed. If they say no, that's okay too. Because at the end of the day, as we're going to see, no is not necessarily a bad thing. So what are some great hooks? Some hooks that you guys can think of, some things that you can say to your client that is accomplishable, that makes sense. It doesn't have to be super complicated.
How would you feel if I showed you how to sell your house in the shortest amount of time for the most amount of money?
Make it specific, has to be specific. All right, so you could say, how would you like, what would you think if I told you that I could sell your house for 30 days for $20,000 over asking? That's specific. All right, you want to be specific because then people are going to be like, wait, 30 days, 20,000, how are you going to do that? Right, but you better be able to back it up. Anybody else? Thank you, by the way.
So would it be better to find like insight before you create a hook? So
Never.
you have like a.
Nope. This is focus group tested. Red Bull paid tens of millions of dollars for this. Not only that, I've read a lot of books on sales psychology. You always want to deliver the hook first, because what the hook is going to do is it's going to capture people's attention. The idea is for people, like when you're talking to them, their brain is kind of like this. They're just like this, and they deliver the hookers. What was that? That's what you're trying to do. All right, I can't tell you how many times I've gone on listing presentations. I have half of their attention. They're on their phone, they're talking to this person, that person. We get everything to the table. They're still half engaged. I'm like, so how would you like to make an extra $50,000 on this house? Stop. What? What are you talking about? How do you do that? Awesome. I just got his full and undivided attention. So the idea of the hook is to stop people dead in their tracks, get their full and undivided attention. By presenting the insight, you are taking all of the power out of the hook. You're taking all the power out.
The question is when you say in this process, it's more like after the
Exactly.
presentation.
It's after the listing presentation.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's that 60 to 90 seconds. After the listing presentation, when we sit down at the table, and we're just like, all right. And you have 90 seconds now to talk to that person, get them to sign the listing agreement. Because if they don't sign it in that 90 seconds, it's not getting signed. It's not happening. It doesn't matter how much cajoling you do, they're not going to do it. They've made up their mind, like she said. Typically, people will make up their mind. Now, you do have an opportunity to influence them. All right. But understand that if you don't hit them in that 90-second window, probably not going to listen to you that day. All right. I still want you to follow up. There's still scripts, there's still ways to stay in touch and to continue to battle for mind share, because they might not list because they're just not ready. You know, maybe their second cousin is a real estate agent. They don't want to piss off their sister. You know, and so they have to just roll around their mind, stay top of mind. Understand that, like I said, the idea isn't to get 100% of your listing presentations converted into listings. The idea is to get you 100% of the listings that you can get. All right, which means that if you're able to close on 70% of all the listing appointments that you go on, then I want you to maintain that 70% number with best practices instead of dropping down to 60, 55%, so on and so forth. I want you to understand your numbers, understand your business. But thank you for that, because I want to be.
I'm not sure if what
people
I'm
understand.
thinking is the right thing, but I try to be more like consulting, like asking a lot of questions during the presentation.
Absolutely.
I don't talk much, just ask questions about the presentation. And then I talk whatever they say. So my hook will be, like, for example, I asking you in questions, what is important, like going deep in motivation. So tell me, John, what is important for you about moving to Texas?
Moving to Texas, well, I have a job. I got to get out there. I have 2 months.
Yeah, so my hook will be, if I can show you a way that I can get you in 2 months in Texas, would you be interested? Would you sign with me right now?
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. And this is the point that
So
I'm
I
trying
use
to.
what you say,
Right.
and I'll say, if I can show you a way that I can repeat whatever you say, like going to Texas in 20 months and sell you for 500,000, and you're ready to get this going.
Exactly.
And
This is
that's like
exactly
a
what I'm
closing,
talking
but
about.
it's a question. I don't know if that's the hook, but
Well, that's the
If
thing.
I can
Now-
show you the
now,
way-
Well, let me take this differently now. Let's say like, hey, all right, so we go through the listing presentation, be like, hey, I have really great stats here. I'm doing really good. As far as business is concerned. My idea is that we can do this and this. How would you like to get out of here in 45 days? How do you feel? You understand what I'm saying? Versus, hey, let me ask you a question. How would you like to get out of here in 45 days? And get above list.
and then
And like we said, during the listing presentation, we're doing the reconnaissance. We're talking to them. You're gathering all the information and data that you can, so that when we get to this point, like you said, not everybody cares about money. Some people, they care about time. They care about the family that's moving in. Obviously, you can't discriminate. So I want to put that out there. But they're like, hey, I want people with, preferably people that have a small family that are looking to stay here for the next 15, 20 years. It's not unreasonable to ask people like that. So make sure that, like you said, you're asking questions, keeping your mouth shut. Your time to speak is going to be here, is going to be in the convincing part. And
I think someone has a question for you.
oh, yeah,
Go to the chat,
Google Chat.
click on the chat.
I was not anticipating Google Chat questions. asking what's important for them, let them open up, not only the price exactly. So, you know, price is not the most important thing in sales. Sometimes we would call it selling out of our wallet. All right, what that means is that me as a salesperson, when I used to work at Guitar Center, and I was, you know, a teenager, and I loved this $20,000 drum set, I knew there's no way I could afford this freaking thing. Like, I wanted this drum set. And no way I could afford it. So the person who walks in and they're like, yeah, you know, they're like, yeah, I'm here for drums. I'm not going to show them that $20,000 drum set because I know I can't afford it. And lo and behold, and this was a true story, I showed him the crap drum set. He's like, yeah, whatever. He walked out. He came back an hour later, went with another guy in the drum section and bought the most expensive one. Selling out of my own wallet. Should have shown the expensive one first. But because I didn't, because I had this limiting belief, right? That because I can't afford it, surely, you know, people are just like, that's a high price. Everybody must be like, that's a high price. The guy who has $2 million just to throw away every single year, $20,000, he can take that money and burn it. He doesn't care about it. You know, I mean, usually if you're a millionaire, you do care about $20,000, but that's not the point. You know, the point is that, you know, for me, $20,000 was like climbing Mount Everest. You know, for this guy, he's like $20,000. It's like, whatever, I make that in 2 days. So selling out of your wallet. All right, we want to make sure that we're not doing it. We talked about some of the insights. Let's see how much what we're doing on time. We're doing all right on time. Some of the insights that we leverage: list price, sales price ratio, brokerage metrics, your own metrics. How many agents here are brand new? They're brand new. So you don't have any metrics. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit down and you're going to talk about, okay, hey, what are some of the things that the brokerage is doing? Like, what are some things that I could use in my area in my listing presentation to show that the Keller Williams network is worth people making an investment in?
And the only thing to change is we.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
We have sold this price. We have that. That's it.
That's it. You know,
Instead of I. That's all.
and just remember that every single real estate agent, regardless of level, regardless of success, had to figure out a way to get that first listing. All right, without any data to help them out, and they can do it. And I'm telling you, you can do it, definitely, 100%. Benefits of doing business with you. You know, what's tangible value, and how are some ways that you guys actually ask for the listing?
Well, I asked for the list many times. I tried to do what they call assumptive clauses. So, okay, so when is a good time for me to bring the photographer? It's 2 weeks. Let me check the date. Okay, so I start kind of know if they're kind of interested in me, because they, oh, you know, yeah, you can bring the photographer. So I say, okay, I got this one.
Interesting.
So I start asking like, so yeah, like ways to, oh, so when do you think would be a good day for me to bring the sign? Like without going into the agreement,
Right, you're already getting
verbal confirmation that they wanted to work with me.
That's smart, very smart.
So the photographer is usually the most common one. When you would like to have a host on open house, what would be the best weekend for you and your family? So
Are you guys taking notes? This is really good stuff.
And that's how I start asking for the listing.
Yeah,
And then at the end, it's just, I already have it. So
you're
it's
just basically
I just say,
priming
yeah,
them
sign
for
here,
the
sign
conversation.
here, that's it. Like, it's already closed.
You guys listening? You guys writing it down? This is really great advice. I don't do that. I'm gonna start doing it. All right, ahas, we're gonna skip this portion. We're gonna get into objection handling. Before I get into objection handling, is there anything that anybody has any questions about regarding the sales process or the different steps? Like I said, there's a lot to unpack. I could literally go on one step and we could do a 2-hour class on that. Just on hooks, just on delivering them, just on being effective and how you do that and how to overcome rejection. There's so much, but I don't have the time to go over it. So again, read books, But before we move on, is there anything
Actually, I have a question.
anybody has any questions?
Because it seems like I kind of have the same background as you in similar way. In my high C, I think about a lot of things like numbers, like
Yeah.
all those things. So my sales is not my, that's why I read a lot about sales.
Yeah.
Because that's not in me, like I'm more introvert.
Yeah.
But when it's like, what made you like, what was the change? Like, what was the impact? Like, do you start in Red Bull?
The thing
I don't
that,
think you start here being the best in Red Bull.
and you're
So my
absolutely right.
my question is, what changed during that process to then start being one of Red Bull?
There was one
Because I-
thing, only one thing that changed, that caused massive success for me personally in that area, and that was that I found my mentor. My mentor, Pedro Mejia,
So you're saying,
was the
Okay.
person who pulled me in and who, I was a mess. You know, I was confrontational, I
Yep,
didn't really know how to
okay.
speak well, and Pedro was the person who was like, I see something in this guy. He works hard and he wants to achieve and he pushes, but he has no direction.
so you're saying the coach, okay,
Yeah.
let's say you have the coach. What is the one thing that changes your mind for you to make those changes? Because you have to change a lot of things for yourself, like personal, because of your personality.
Yeah.
What was the, like, you have the mentor, what would be the next thing that would make like you were like you were in a struggle, finance, like,
The
I'm
next
sorry, I
thing,
meant to ask
no, that's okay. No, I love that question. And I want you guys to ask any questions. I'm an open book. The thing that really pushed me more than anything, and it's difficult because it doesn't connect with everybody. It's my faith. It's the fact that I'm a Christian.
Yep. I completely,
That was my bedrock. When I understood who I was as a Christian, I don't want to get into theology
No,
because I absolutely can. But I'm not just a Christian in name only, like I'm a person who exposits the Bible. You know, I love it. I read it every day. And it's because I see myself first as a Christian and I understand what my God's expectations are of me. From there, everything flows out.
so everything changed there, okay.
Once I internalized the fact that I was a Christian, because I was a Christian my whole life, but it didn't make any kind of meaningful impact on it. And then once I hit 32, I hit major stuff and I surrendered,
Something changed.
changed. And once I gave in and I became that person, that was my identity essentially. I understood what my identity is. Once I understood what my identity was, I had my mentor, that is what grounded me and that is what pushed me and gave me the confidence to do what I have today. Because I was bullied when I was a kid, all the time.
Same
So
thing.
I got thick skin from it, but I didn't know how to speak to people. I was socially awkward.
Yeah.
I needed a person to come alongside me and grab me, and I needed that bedrock foundation of Christianity to anchor me because I was just all over the place. Once I had that bedrock, once I had my identity of who I was, and I had a mentor to guide me, a coach, it was awesome. And it took 13 years. It's a 13-year journey for me. It's very difficult. And I have a lot more
That
stuff.
was your coach for sales or coach like? for-
I'm just doing this class. I'm a solo agent.
No, but that person that you say, that coach that you.
Oh,
mentioned,
Pedro.
He was in the sales coach.
Yeah, he was my boss the entire time. He was always my boss. He was my district manager, then he became my general manager, and then he was the branch manager. He was always my boss. I was never an equal or anything to him. So, but I mean, the one thing about Pedro that was amazing was that Pedro commanded culture. He understood how to be a leader, and by serving people, he was one of the most effective leaders that I ever knew. He was a servant leader in every aspect of the word. I don't want to get too much into it.
Oh, good.
Anybody else have any other questions about the sales process? Let's continue. All right, objection handling, where are we at right now? We're at 11:13, gonna get you guys out of here in 20 minutes. All right, I like to give people hope so that they have expectations. They're like, all right, I only gotta do this another 20 minutes. I'm good. All right, so objection handling. What does no mean? People say no, psychologically speaking, it's due to a lack of understanding. Now, this isn't always the case. Sometimes no is just no. All right, I want to make sure that I emphasize that. But before no becomes a solid no, we want to ask questions. We want to qualify that no as much as we would qualify a yes, correct? So we want to qualify the no's. Typically, it's due to a lack of understanding, and especially in CPG, no is usually a buying signal. A lot of times people will say no just simply because they want you to explain your service or what you're offering more. So if somebody's like, yeah, I'm really not ready yet. A lot of times what we're going to see is that it's not actually rooted in what they're saying. There's another issue behind it that you need to solve. And what we want to do is we want to figure out the best way to get people to reveal that issue so that we can solve it for them and we can get them to the listing, we can get them to sign listing agreement. All right, so we want to identify and address objections, objectives. We want to understand the objection handling process. And then finally, we want to execute the close. It's really simple. The other pointers in there that I didn't put in, which are the same ones, is I want to increase your focus and I want to reduce your fear of rejection as much as possible. By empowering you through these systems, it will reduce your fear of rejection. It's not going to eliminate it. You're still going to have to go out there. You're still going to get butterflies in your stomach, but at least you have a plan to follow so you can walk in with confidence. All right, so these are the steps we want to identify. What is their greatest objection? Confirm and reassure, let people know you're listening and add clarity. We want to understand what is their personal knowledge of the issue. This is an extremely important step. And the reason why it's an extremely important step is because most people don't know bupkis about real estate or how it works. So when people are going to start questioning you on things about real estate, you want to understand where they're coming from first, right? Because somebody might have read this article that was written by this person who had no idea what they're talking about. And they got a bunch of bad information, and now you're going to have to clarify, right? So we want to understand what is your personal knowledge of this issue, because that's going to allow you to shape and frame your retort. So there now. And then we want to manage it. We want to address the concerns. We want to clear up misunderstandings and ultimately close the deal. That's the objective. Walk away with the listing agreement. More specifically, walk away with the 6% listing agreement. All right, so identify objections by asking, repeating back the issue. Ask if there are any other issues. Continue this cycle until they have exhausted all objections. You guys are going to get the slide deck on this too. So if I'm going through it too fast, don't worry. You're going to get all the info. Confirm and reassure. Ask which objections are most important. This is a crucial step. All right, we want to find out what's really most important. Now, very important things can be more than one thing, but as much as we can, we want to try and narrow it down to one. Because when you get into 1, 2, and 3 issues, it becomes a very complex conversation. And it goes way longer than 90 seconds. And ultimately, it becomes more and more difficult as the time goes by to secure that listing agreement. All right. Confirm again once they give an answer. People want to know you're actively listening. I'm projecting on you guys now. I tend to talk a lot. So for me, I just need to learn to keep my mouth shut and listen to people. All right, so understand. So what do you mean by 6% seems really high? Understand their perception surrounding the issue. Once you know their stance, you can begin to address their understanding of the issue and correct any misconceptions. So a lot of people will be like, hey, this guy's saying 5%, you're saying 6%. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about a 1%. We're not talking about 6%. We're not talking about 5%. We're talking about 1%. That's what we're talking about. That's what this person is really all over themselves about. So once we understand and we can frame for them that, hey, you're not talking about 1% or 2% if you want to go for some crap discount broker. We're talking about, we're not talking about 6%. We're talking about a very small percentage. And then it's up to you to help them to understand how that 1% is going to help them get more value than with the person who's only doing 5%. Or the person, the discount broker is doing 4%. This person doesn't even care. Like, they're not going to show up at your appraisal. They're probably not going to show up at your inspection. They're not going to deal with the fire inspector all of a sudden he's on vacation for a week and doesn't answer his phone calls. You know, I mean, you get what you pay for. And if this thing falls off the market, you know, I'm Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm trying to protect you. Just 1%, yeah, you know, you might think that the 6% you might think, but it's only 1%, not 1% makes all the difference. Because I care about our people, I have systems, I have a plan in place that has driven success. Look at my track record, so that we can understand, that's what their issue is. They're like, yeah, you know, 6% is really expensive. I was like, well, let me ask you what's more expensive. Is it more expensive to take the 4% and, you know, maybe get 500,000, or is it more expensive for you to do 6% and I can get you 550? Guaranteed, I know I can do it. We just went over all this data, right? So you're in there convincing them that, now, here's the thing, is that a 4% agent might be really good. But I don't know, but yeah, I know for the majority of the time, they're not, because people are motivated to work by money. They are. And so if people are gonna ask you to come down, what are we gonna say to them? What do you say when somebody says, yeah, you know, 6% is a lot, if you come down to 5? What's the response? There is only one correct response to that, by the way. Well, of course not, just no, but what is it? You know.
Well, like, I could say, like, if you say, oh, so Mr. Seller, what I hear you saying is that you want me to do the job, but you want me to pay what you're gonna pay for that person. So what you're saying is you want me to hire me at his price.
Yeah. Yes,
So I cannot
essentially,
make him think that way,
that's not bad.
because that way I can, then I will know if they really want to work with me. If they say, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of already have them. And then I show you then, like you say, the value, like, okay, so trying to find out where can I add that 1%. For me, I would say it's the more the confidence of that.
It is confidence.
For me, it's like I can see you like
Yeah.
very confident.
But here's the
Like-
thing, is that when you're asking, you want to understand, what are you positioning for yourself? What's the image that you want to give
No,
to the seller?
I agree
Right?
1000%.
And so like me, I tend to beat up on realtors sometimes a little bit, because I've dealt with a lot of really bad realtors.
Yeah.
But I try to stay away from that as much as possible, because you know, you really want to talk more about yourself. So if I like start talking about, well, I'm comparing this person, and they're going to start comparing services, and it can turn into a complex conversation, right? We want to avoid complexity as much as possible. The more complexity, the less chance that you're going to get the agreement signed. This is what we said. Go ahead.
Is it, Mr. Seller, if I negotiate myself at 1% less, how do you expect me to negotiate your house?
Mr. Seller, if I am so quick to negotiate away my own commission, how confident are you going to be in my ability to negotiate when your money is on the line? Full stop. Wait, don't even say one thing. Look them dead in the eye. Wait for them to answer. I'm telling you, you're not going to have a good answer for you. There is no good answer to that. That is one of the most powerful things that we can say. The only thing I can say is, yeah, but I don't want to pay them. Like, so you're saying that you want somebody who's going to not do as good of a job, who might cost you more money. When it, in fact, by paying me a little bit more, paying me a premium, because I'm a premium product, right? I got a premium price. I offer a premium commission to the buyer's agent. And on top of that, you know, I like how David Radney does it, right? He's like, they got $6 here, this dollar goes here, this dollar goes here, this dollar goes here, this dollar goes here. I've got $1 left. Let me ask you, which one of these dollars do you want to take off the table so that I can reduce my commission? If it gets to that point where they don't want to, I love David Radney's illustration. I would highly recommend that any of you who haven't listened to any of that stuff, that you would, because he's right on the money. It's like, where do you want me to take this away? You want me to take it away from the buyer's agent commission? I can do that. I can't take away the taxes. Can't take away my brokerage fee. It only leaves you a couple of things to work with. What am I taking away? And you help people to realize that All right, well, again, I didn't understand how the real estate business worked. Now I understand how the industry works a little bit better. So we have twofold, all right? I'm an expert negotiator, and I want to make sure that I'm showing you, I'm delivering the highest value, and you can trust that I'm going to fight for every single dollar. And then you got David Radney on the other side. If they're not going to do it, okay, no problem. Where do we take away the dollar? Where's that point coming from? Let them make that decision. It's going to make it more agonizing for them, and it's going to make you look more like the subject matter expert. Because I'm telling you right now, there might be one other agent who fought as hard as you have just done with that person. Make sense? All right. So manage, if I can address the issue and explain why, would you consider signing a listing agreement? If the answer is no, repeat the process and identify the next objection that needs to be overcome. All right, beware of commission breath. People are saying no, don't be pushy. One of the most difficult skills to learn is how to lead people and how to convince people. I was reading it just last night. Have you ever tried to push a string? You ever tried to push a piece of string? It doesn't really go that great, does it? Hey, you gotta pull it. You pull it and the whole thing follows. But if you try and push somebody into something, they're gonna resist you. They're not gonna go along with you. You've got to figure out a way to essentially get them to follow your lead. You can't push people in anything. Like, all right, now if you look at one of the script ideas I put here, all right, here we go. Even if you decide not to list your home with me right now, all right, we've already gone over. I'm a great negotiator. I'm not going to negotiate with my commission. You want to take it away? Where do you take it away from? Yeah, I really don't want to take it away. I just want the thing. All right, look. Obviously, you're not ready yet. If you decide not to list your home with me right now, it's fine. I'm happy to offer advice and guidance on how to get your property ready for sale. Years of experience in the market. I want to make sure that you have all the information you need to make the best decision for you and your family. Can I confirm your email so I can send you the info? Can I mind if I get in touch with you in the next couple of days? See how
You're doing a takeaway.
Huh?
You're doing a takeaway there.
Right. We want to
So
make,
if you're not ready.
we want to make sure that we're staying top of mind, that we're getting that verbal agreement, like you were saying, getting the verbal pre-listing agreement. We want to get that verbal agreement that they want to stay in contact with us. Obviously, if you're there for a listing agreement, unless they said otherwise, they're probably looking to list soon. So you still have time. You have your 8x8s. You have different kinds of action plans that you can deploy these people on so that you can stay top of mind. But know when to back off, because sometimes backing off will save the listing. It has. I've gotten listings because I backed off, and I followed up with them. They stayed consistent. The listing would be on the way. You know, just understand that doesn't mean be cowardly. You know, be bold, but don't push too hard. All right, know when to back off, pay attention to body language. One thing I love, somebody, if I'm like this, right? What does this say to you?
Closed off.
Huh?
Closed off.
Closed off. Absolutely. If I'm looking away, I'm looking over here, I'm doing all this stuff.
Time he has to go to somewhere.
Time, I'm preoccupied, I'm getting bored. What does this mean? I want to escape, I want to get out. If you see somebody's foot is pointed towards an exit, it means that unconsciously they want to leave. They want to get out. And so for you, the person who's reading the body language, you have a distinct advantage when you pick up on these cues. Because what it's going to allow you to do when you see that, be like, hey, look, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know that. Would it be all right if I followed up with you on Friday? Just see where you're at. They are going to love that. You'd be like, wow, you just released me from this commitment. You let me go. You know, I didn't have to be rude or have to tell them I have to go. You know, you just let me go. And people unconsciously will like you more because you did that. Paying attention to body language is so important, guys. All right. So here's some dialogue. Not ready to list. Got it. So you're saying the timing isn't right. Is that the issue that's stopping you from listening to me today? Well, you know, 6% is a lot of money. All right. So look, they gave me an answer. I'm not ready to list today. But I'm like, all right, so you're not ready to list. Is there anything else? other than time, that's stopping you from listening today? 6% is a lot of money. Okay. Got it. So we got time now, and we got 6%. We got 2 objections right there. Is there anything else? No. All right, so timing and 6% are your issues. Out of these 2 issues, which one is most important? That's the key question. You want to figure out what is the thing that's stopping them from signing the listing agreement today. What's the most important? What's stopping you from really signing this listing? 6%. All right, if I can help you understand this, we'll net you the most money. Would you consider signing a listing agreement today? All right, so I want you guys to pay attention to the formula here. It's extremely important. All right. So I'm asking though, we have timing and 6%. Which one is most important? 6%. All right. If I can help you understand this, understand that this is more beneficial to you, will you list with me today? Or will you consider listing with me today? Give them a little bit of flexibility. You don't want to be hard and fast. Will you consider listing with me today? At the very least, people will be like, okay, I'll consider. You know, you've already got buy-in, like what you were talking about, right? Can I get the photographer? When do I want to bring the sign? It's just another thing that's kind of cementing them or you as their agent. All right? Sure, okay. Class discussion, preferred metrics and insights. We've gone over a lot of this stuff. All right, we're at 11:30 now. As far as metrics and insights are concerned, again, it's going to be about the data that we spoke about in your insights and benefits during the sales portion. So we're going to go back to those things, but we're going to help them to see it with fresh eyes. All right. And what that's going to look like is, okay, now that I've shown you why you can have more money with us versus another agent, will you sign an agreement with me today? Yeah, do it. All right. I've built trust. Obviously, this is a very quick and abbreviated version, but the things that I want you guys to understand is when you're engaged in the language, is that the language is always affirming that we are moving towards a listed property and we're doing it at 6%. You're not going to concede, and that's great for them because they know they're getting a pit bull. Like this person wouldn't even negotiate with me. Like I feel bad for the buyer's agent. I almost feel bad for the buyer's agent has to deal with this agent. Like this person is going to tear him up. I'm excited about it. You know, we want to continue to do that. And then afterwards, you know, we'll discuss that too. All right. So it's got some tough questions for you guys here. What are some ways to manage confrontational people? You walk into a listing agreement, or you walk into a listing presentation. You've been talking to the wife. You get there and the husband's like this. Just happened plenty of times. I'm sure plenty of it has happened to me. It actually happened to me with the husband, and it's the wife who's glaring at me. And it's just, you know, you can't allow yourself to get rattled. You have to expect that this is just part of the business. At some point, you're going to be dealing with angry people. At some point, you're going to be dealing with rude people. It's just the way that it is. It's not personal, just business, you know, so don't take it personally. Look at it objectively, just understand that this is a person that needs to be managed a certain way versus somebody else. You don't want to approach an angry person the same way that you'd approach a happy person, right? I've learned this with my wife. When she's pissed off, I know not to approach her as if she's happy, because probably not a good idea. I'm going to get my head bit off, right? I got to be like, all right, she's mad, got to be sensitive. She's probably not ready to receive some of the information that I have right now, because she's got some stuff that she's working on. You know, I need to be mindful. This is the same thing when you're dealing with clients, right? So what are some of the ways that we deal with confrontation?
I feel like maybe, so I guess I've read in the book that like if you kind of like ask open-ended questions and kind of label the emotions, helps them think about it. It kind of just makes them more subconscious about like how they're acting confrontational.
So the Socratic method is
Socratic method.
right. So Socratic method is always great. You always want to ask questions. I love that. Anything else? Anybody on Zoom here?
of the mirror. Like if you come like this and try to start like this through and then you're trying to open. And then if I can see that they're doing the same thing, but I have a hard time, and probably you have a hard time with those people too because of personalities.
I mean, for me, my
But you
hardest,
are like always like confronting.
well, that's my thing, is that I tend to mirror and match confrontation, because I'm most confrontation. So I used to work at Bennigan's, way back in the day. I don't know if anybody of you guys know what Bennigan's is. You probably do. I don't know if you do. So Bennigan's was an Irish-American food chain, kind of like how we have like TGA Fridays and stuff like that. Bennigan's used to be a thing. And just like all the other places, they had this stupid birthday song that you would sing to people. And the thing is like, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday is what we're here to say. Hey, and so I was really shy back in those days. And the birthday song was something that kind of terrified me when I started working with Bennigan's. And there was this other kid that worked there, Scott, and Scott was going to school for acting. And so Scott was always trying to make it the best. And I was like, how do you do that? He's like, you should do it with me. He's like, we should have a competition. I was like, all right, it's on. And so our competition was, all right, who can sing the loudest and make the biggest ruckus in the entire restaurant with the birthday song? And I mean, I would stand up on chairs. Like, can I get everybody's attention, please? It's Sandra's birthday today. We're gonna sing a birthday song. This is just one way that I was able to build in confidence, but it made me so that I would try and like shame people more so I wouldn't be shamed. Like I kind of got into that mode. And so when I'm dealing with confrontational people, they turn it up, I turn it up. I'm like, oh, I could be more confrontational. Yeah. And it's honestly, it's actually served me well. I find that confrontational people have respect for other confrontational people for the most part, but you've got to be really, really careful. It's a mirror and match thing, but it's a mirror and match thing. Hey, seriously, hey, what's the problem? What's going on? Let me get to the bottom of this because it seems like there's something really bothering. And just be really serious about it. But be concerned. Don't be like, because that person is going to be like a predator. Because that's how I am. I'm a predator. If I see somebody take a step back, if I smell blood in the water, I'm full steam ahead. You're not stopping me. That's me in a conversation. If I smell blood in the water, you're dead to rights. And I'm an excellent speaker. So, I've had people try and embarrass me in public places. The worst thing that you could possibly do, for yourself, because I'm excellent at speaking. I don't care about confrontation. I was bullied when I was a kid, so I have no fear of what other people think. I don't care. Doesn't matter. So all that being said, don't want to get too far afield. Be bold, guys. Be bold. When you're dealing with confrontational people, understand that that's just part of the job, right? Be serious. Just be like, hey, I understand you're concerned. What can I help you with? I know that this business is tough. I'm sure you probably talked to 25 realtors already, and 24 of them haven't even called you back, right? And they said they would. It's like, yeah. Yeah, I would be angry too. Let me help, mirror and match, but don't mirror and match in a disrespectful, rude way. Mirror and match in a way where you're trying to build collaboration, especially body language wise. If I'm like this, talking to you, right? Versus, hey, like this, like, hey, let's talk about this. This is a completely different posture, right? You're just like, oh, he's collaborating, standing next to me, as opposed to squaring off and talking directly to you, looking at you in the eye, right? So we want to be mindful of these things so that when we're dealing with confrontational people, which can happen a lot in real estate, we're not fazed by it. We're making sure that we're taking on good habits so we can be effective. How are some ways to maintain believability, likability, and trust? Some people call this BLT. Believability, likability, and trust is three crucial components in you being able to do business with people. If people don't believe you, they're not going to do business with you. If people don't like you, they're not going to do business with you. Or if you're not trustworthy, people are not going to do business with you. You can do really good at two of these things and fail at one, and that's enough. People have to do business with you. So understand that believability, likability, and trust is important. I'm going to continue to move on because we're kind of running out of time here. That's it. That's really all I got for you guys. I know, like I said, this was kind of a shotgun thing. It's a lot of information in 2 hours. I mean, it seems like 2 hours is a lot of time, but it's not. We would do this every single week. I would go with my salespeople and spend time with them at least 2 times a month for an entire day, riding with them, going to all their accounts, checking to see how their places look, but more importantly, being a coach, helping them to become more effective in their communications with their business owners, and then ultimately help them be more effective in their communications in general. Because what every single one of them told me after my departure from Red Bull was that the sales, me as their coach, not only helped them to get better at their job, but it made them better at their life. 2 of them left and became entrepreneurs and started their own businesses based on the experience that they had at the Beverage Works and the sales training that they received. They were able to internalize it and turn it into massive success for themselves. And I hope that you guys are able to do the same. That's all I got. Any more questions? Anything else that you guys have?
Do you coach people?
I do not right now, thinking about it, but I gotta focus on my business right now because I just redid my entire lead funnel. I'm almost done. I used to have follow-up boss. I'm getting rid of it. I'm going 100% command. It looks awesome. I love everything that they're doing with it, and I'm really encouraged by it. So for those of you who are on the fence with command, I would encourage you to do it. But yeah, it means I have to rebuild my lead funnel. So I've been busy doing that, and yeah, I'm really excited about this year. It's going to be an awesome year, guys. A lot of terrible agents are going to leave the industry. This is time for you guys to shine. So get out there, get it. If you guys have any questions, if you ever want to talk to me, if you have a team and you would like for me to come by and do some sales training with you guys, feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer any and all of your questions. And guys, thank you so much, and good luck in selling.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So is call back your real name or did you?
Yes, it is.
Pick it up?
Callback is Swedish, so it's a Nordic last name. Originally, the A had umlaut over it,
Oh, okay.
and so it was
Oh,
Schurbach. But of course, my great grandfather came to Ellis Island, and it became Callback.
Right, okay. I thought maybe you changed it so that, people will say, call back.
I know, right? If only I was that cool. No, that's my name. That's I got the luck of the draw.
It's cool, thank you.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, guys.
Are you in the Bridgewood office?
I'm in the Fort Lee office. Yes, I'll tell you. You don't have to raise your hand, brother. Come over here.
What would you say your top 3 books to recommend to?
Top 3 books: How to Win Friends and Influence People, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The last one. I mean, there's a. What do you think you struggle with?
Have you read Way of the Wolf?
No, I haven't really.
That's really,
I'm thinking, well, it's either going to be Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt, or it's going to be Atomic Habits by Jim Clear. James Clear is the man. There's also Limitless by Jim Quick, another one that I would recommend. But Limitless is very much like Winning Friends and Influencing People, where it's not a book that's meant for you to just consume and move on to the next one. It's actually more like a guide, and you have to open it and refer to it constantly, take notes. It's literally a transformative kind of process in order to get you to be more aware of where you're using your time, what people you're getting involved with, and just making sure you're lining up everything so that you can be successful. Because he was like me, he was bullied. And he was bullied by teachers too. He was dyslexic. They're like, you're never going to be anything. And the guy is like, he's worked with Marvel now. He's done all this other stuff. He's massively successful. If you've never read the book Limitless, you know what that's going to be the third one, Limitless. Winning Friends and Influencing People, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Limitless. Especially Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the last like 50 pages of that book are pure gold. Pure gold.
Yeah. That's a good book, I like that.
Yeah.
Have you read Think and Grow Rich?
I'm actually reading that right now.
It's probably one of my favorite books I've read about probably 3 times.
Oh man, I just
Shows you how strong the mind is, and it's like.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But also how predictable the mind is too, which is why I like Winning Friends and Influencing People, because it's all about understanding people's psychological proclivities and then using that to your advantage in the way that you converse with them. It also makes for excellent leaders because you're really able to understand how to make people feel good about you as a person, make them feel good about themselves, and ultimately get the best response. But he uses one of his managers, Rockefeller does. It was Dale, it was I can't remember who it was, but he was paid $1 million a year in the 30s. You have any idea what $1 million a year in the 30s was? It's an insane amount of money. I mean, it was like it's like making it's like making a $50 million salary right now, maybe even $100 million. I mean, it's a crazy amount of money. It's asinine. But the reason why he paid him so much money was because this guy understood how to be a leader and communicate with people, and he made the company so wildly profitable because people just loved to work there and you felt respected. That's it. There was no magic business formula or bullet. He just treated people well. And, you know, there's just a couple of really common sense things that he did. One of the things that he says is like, don't, you know, ask people questions, the Socratic method. Ask them questions about them. Don't talk about yourself. You ask them about them. And then the other thing that I really love, one of the principles that I try and apply all the time, because it's very difficult for me because I'm a very opinionated person and I talk a lot, is to render your opinion last. And the reason why you want to render your opinion last is because by doing that, it gives you the advantage. Because if you render your opinion, people know what your stance is already. Especially if you're the leader. If I'm the leader and I'm like, hey, my opinion is we should be doing this. Of course, all my team members are like, yeah, I agree with you, John. Yeah, I agree, 100%. You know, they don't want to piss me off. They're not actually telling me what they really think. They're just going along. I don't want groupthink in my organization. I want people to think for themselves. And the only way to do that is to ask them first, hey, what do you think about it? Say, what do you think about it? Say, what do you think about it? Say, what do you think about this? And then I can be like, all right, so based on what all of you guys are saying, I think you bring up great points. It's the X, Y, and Z. This is kind of what I think about it, but I like what you said, you know, so maybe let's come up with this solution. And that empowers people. It makes them feel like they're part of the conversation. It makes them feel like they're important and valued. And they are, you know, they should be, because I can't come up with all the ideas. I can't do everything myself. I need help. I need collaboration. And so in order to get that, a very simple principle of being the last person to render your opinion can drive very powerful results. Yeah. It's all about, man. So good stuff. So nice to meet you.
Thank you. Bueno. Yes.
I'm sorry, your name is what?
Oscar.
So nice to meet you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything you got to say.
Yeah, I have a good conversation with your wife on family reunion.
Oh, yeah? Dude,
We-
she's incredible.
We were on the car when we get to the airport.
Yeah.
So she was
Oh,
on the-
okay.
Yeah, actually, she told me about to send you a few information and I sent it to you.
Hey, if you have any questions, reach out anytime.
I'm just curious.
Anytime. Yeah, I do. Do me a favor. Text me. Just text me.
That's you.
Oh, you're going to text me?
No, actually, well, yeah.
Wait, it's not.
But that's what I wanted.
It's okay, let you know next time I do. Just.
Yeah. But
I wanna
don't
talk
Why?
about it.
Because
spring like.
I know you. like,
Well, I have a couple ideas, actually.
I have versus.
One of the things I was looking at was DRCF funds.
Yeah, let's check it out.
CSER.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And, you know, just really, so
Where we
we
should.
don't really have a capital. Right now.
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot of business owners, a lot of millionaires. You know, I just need to research some syndication,
It's nothing.
you know, and just pull the money together.
It's nothing regards the, yeah, just put them.
I just want to pull the money together, start buying up
This
properties.
now.
Yeah, without your income.
When I am flip them, I can put a statement together that says, you're going to get X amount. You know, Vanessa worked in small equity. So she understands how to put one pages together, how to communicate return on investment to potential investors. So it's a different measure. It's a different measurement. She knows. I'm gonna research it too, but I'd like to talk with you more about that. Because I really want to work on this. Because we're essentially at a time when it's like people foreclosures are starting to start. And I want to take advantage of the market because what I find okay, is that there's a guy, Joseph Mancuso, he wrote a book about small business cases or whatever. Recommend him just for, he has really good stuff. His book is written in '96, but if you look at it, like all the information is still relevant, just turn Palm Pilot into smartphone, you know, so, it's just, incredible. And one of the things he talks about is, hey, you know, a lot of ways that people are so successful is they find the niche markets. Like everybody's chasing after the big percentage, but where's that little thing that almost nobody knows about? You know, where there's like 10 people, because if you could take 20% of that pie, yeah, it's not a big pie, but if you take 20%, it's a million, right? So, as far as I'm concerned.
You can go, it's gonna tell you it's not
Yeah,
gonna
we
roll
don't
back.
know, it's DRCS. I get it.
Yeah, of course.
That's kind of a vehicle that we could utilize,
Of course, you don't have.
use other people's money, grab houses, and put them in a market where we don't have a lot of inventory, or at least not a lot of good inventory.
Yeah, we don't have.
You got PS inventory, you got a bunch of old stuff and stuff that's falling apart. Let's, you know, get some flip models in place so that we can make some offers. I also need to talk to somebody else about, you know, an idea that I have, but it's like, you gotta be careful because it could be looked at as a kickback.
Reminds me so much of my college.
You know, here's the thing, is that the heart and soul of the law, the heart and soul of the law is
This
semantics.
personality.
All right, so semantics is basically how do we interpret? So, you know, if it says this, it's like, all right, so what is a kickback? So this defines the kickback. So
Do you know, real estate always like great life, so.
yeah, but exactly,
And
well, that's what I'm saying, is
If
that,
you're not in that great life, you're not doing business.
that's what I'm saying, is that I understand that there's gotta be a way in that gray line, but not call it that, call it something else.
You know, like for a buyer or seller?
Like a profit share department, you know what I'm saying? So like I. For the seller, okay, you know, I've got the capital to do it. And in order to sell me, property debt, after everything's said and done, I'll show you my P&L statement for this property.
So you do, you.
So if I-
change title.
So if I make a. so if I make a debt,
Actually,
you
that's,
know, we sell it
okay,
for
the
500,
session
so
today, which
it's
was going to
160.
do it.
But you
Say
say,
you-
But
so
you only
$8,000
just put
check.
your fees gonna expire with-
okay, but you're not buying the property.
Portfolio.
Or
Um,
you are transferring the title yourself.
I'm trying to transfer the title. That's why I have to figure out. I have to sit down, we have to talk about it. Because you gotta be careful, because you do things in the wrong order, you could get in big trouble, you know? But like you said, gray area. You gotta focus. And I think that it's a great opportunity.
Yes,
be
every
able to
morning,
leverage
every Tuesday and Thursday, yes.
Well,
we
I,
have
yeah, I understand what you mean.
So the hardest part's the capital.
Oh, that's like the first.
And I'm pretty sure I can get that on lockdown. I just need to have a good perspective. So when people look at it, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
I don't
but-
feel like this, I'm just throwing my money into the black.
And I probably you're gonna have to do one or two yourself or with the people that. you
Because a lot of people,
So you
they'll
can
go,
create a proven system.
lot of
and then you
guys-
can get more.
I've talked to some people and some of them said, hey, look, I'll do it, but you gotta put it in this.
Yeah, that's,
I'll do it.
yeah,
You know?
that's what you will have to
It's
do.
almost,
You
Think
know,
at the beginning.
I'm gonna
Create
put
that
skin in the
proven.
game no matter what. I mean, I'm gonna tell them, look, what's the big enough? I
the
need
next
enough
one
money.
will get paid by the new agent who is very worthwhile. So-
You know, so you have the opportunity.
Like push you to get out of the comfort zone. Everybody.